Small business is about courage, risk-taking, independence, and we small business owners are survivors. Everybody has an idea for a business, but how do you take that idea from mind to market? This is the place to learn.
Small Business School with Hattie Bryant.
It's a new kind of school. Together we'll learn about business from the inside out, from the people who've done it. We'll meet the men and women who are today's pioneers and quiet heroes. Their lives are the textbooks. Our classroom is the world. Hi, I'm Hattie Bryant, and every week this is the place to be to learn about business from the inside out. Here you meet the founders of businesses, and we call these men and women the new American heroes. We are the job generators, the innovators, and as Bill Malaris demonstrates, the activists who push for change. From Naperville, Illinois, meet new American hero, Bill Malaris. Developer and general contractor Bill Malaris wants us to see his pride and joy, his first project, an apartment complex unlike any other. This is Maple Court. It has 48 units and 20 are barrier-free. Barrier-free means 6-foot wide sidewalks, no curbs, automatic doors, wide hallways, enough for 2 wheelchairs to pass easily. Wide doors. Roll-in showers, lowered switches, thermostats, fuse boxes, shelving, and cabinets.
For example, getting to an accessible cooktop, if you can see, your light switches and fan switches are usually up in the top on your hood fans. Can't reach them. Flip the switch here, the hood fan will function. Then you go, your light switches, being able to function and being able to operate. Somebody's in a standing chair, being able to underneath right with the cooktop. With myself, being able to swivel, being able to reach the dials, to be able to turn, and being able to cook, all being a crucial function in utilizing the cooktop. And in fact, I really enjoyed fixing, not too long ago, roast chicken and potatoes. Full pan and everything else.
Okay, did you have company in?
Of course.
Sure. The typical developer has one goal, and that is to make money. Bill's goal is to make money and at the same time create places for anyone and everyone to live.
My grandfather came here in 1896 and 100 years later got my certificate of occupancy, completed construction on Maple Court, and we opened the building and 100% full and had our grand opening.
It's amazing, huh? Did your grandfather come to be an entrepreneur? Or?
Yeah, he did. Got a lot of business. My father, my grandfather.
What's your father's business?
My father had a wholesale produce business in South Water Market in Chicago, potatoes and onions. My great-grandfather was a silk merchant in Greece. My grandfather's father. So his name's William. So business has been...
It's in your blood.
In the blood, yeah. Very much so.
All right, well, let me understand your progress to this point. You went to college.
Yes. I went to the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater and graduated in 1978. Worked in the family business for a few years, and then went and probably being involved with the disability movement was important in college. And
what does that mean, being involved with the disability movement? What were you doing?
What I did is headed up an independent living center when I was up in Minnesota and provided comprehensive services for people with disabilities. We started from scratch. The independent living movement started in the late 70s, early 80s. And where we were empowering people with disabilities, primarily operated by people with disabilities.
Do you mind telling us about your particular illness or?
I have a neuromuscular disability that essentially the main motor units in the spinal cord are defective, which cause slow muscle growth in my 4 extremities. And so I essentially operated on my spares. And years back, used to walk and use a cane, used to fall all the time. Now, it's been 11, 12 years using a chair and a scooter. You don't let it stop you. You have an agenda. You have an objective of some of the things that you want to pursue in your life, whether it's personal, business, professional, whatever. And it's really important. It's important to have a balanced life. But I knew deep down inside, it was time to move back home to Chicago, and there was no housing. No accessible housing, and I knew housing, if I had looked at the things that I really enjoyed the most. Housing, out of everything that I did. When I moved back, I started my consulting.
Okay, all right, but when you moved back, you said you couldn't find any place to live. Now, the reason I want to stop on this point a minute is just a regular person, you know, Joe Blow school teacher or whatever, couldn't find a place to live. They don't start a company to build houses. This is an entrepreneurial trait. We can't find what we want, so we make it ourselves. Is that what happened to you?
That's essentially what happened. We need any more loads in for the detention area?
Bill started in business as a consultant to other developers on barrier-free design.
Take a look. Let's take a look at the west side.
How did you get your first consulting project?
The first major one would have been with a major developer.
How did they find out about you, or how did you
I
pitch
kind of
yourself?
outreached it. They had developed the complex that I was living in. And so they had asked me, because they knew I had the background, to come and give a presentation to all of their managers. And so then from that presentation, one thing led to another as far as people interconnecting and realizing we need to do more with this.
You did these consulting projects, and what's the man that owned the business, his name was?
David Hubbard. He became a mentor. He was who I negotiated my consulting contract with, and then as I was developing my own business, he was assisting me and mentoring, and we were helping each other. And I was able to help his company with what they were doing, and then he was helping me in my business, and a very good friend, and and I think that's important. Mentoring is very, very important. The thing that I did that was important, I saved, my retirement funds. Essentially what I put in my retirement funds, I used to start my business.
Okay, and that
was very, very key. That gave me that flexibility.
Right, if you didn't
if I didn't do that, and it came tight, money was running out, you had to work hard, you didn't know. When you start, and you were sitting here working out of a one-bedroom apartment, and that's where my office was at, to say that there was fear, yes, there was fear. I knew that that's what I needed to do. I mean, that was in my blood. I wanted to be in my own company, housing developer and builder. I really wanted to do it, looked at potential partnerships, you looked at all variety, and I really felt philosophically that really needed to do it on my own, because there was a statement being 100% disabled-owned business, that was a statement in itself, that people with disabilities can pursue their own businesses and goals. Every subcontractor, I will say, everybody that was involved in the team, that worked, that I contracted with, knew right up front knew exactly what the mission and philosophy that I had.
You're not just building a building, you're building a prototype, you're building a
Yes.
model. The world is going to come here and look at this place.
Yes, they knew that right up front.
What are some of the unobvious? We see a beautiful space, we see lovely aesthetics, but what are some of the things we can't see that you did differently that make this a special place?
When you start looking at entryways, people with disabilities shouldn't be relegated to coming into one entrance. That's where the push buttons are, and that's where we go. Oh, excuse me, the power doors and accessible entrances are at all entrances, which is appropriate, because the barrier-free units are integrated throughout. Maple Court was a statement here, not only on construction and barrier-free design, but it was a statement on how a development should be done. This is 48 units on a 4.5-acre site.
Which means?
Meaning low density. Could have put 75 units, I only put 48. I wanted to save the trees. So I built around the trees. I saved 19 out of 24 trees. And that was a statement in itself. No variances, keep it lower density, because I felt I had a responsibility and wanted to create an integrated barrier-free environment between people with and without disabilities. Because we're tired of segregation, we want integration, we want to be a part of the community, and that's what this development statement is accomplished.
Bill took us to meet Susan Bretz, who lives at Maple Court.
Well, I work for Leonardo's Pizza of Naperville. Part of my time I spend in the restaurant, working in the restaurant, and then the other part of the time we have a frozen pizza that we put in the grocery store, so I do sales and marketing for that.
So you do that from here?
Yes, I do. A lot of it from home.
Do you like that, officing at home?
Oh yeah, it's great. I'm hooked up to our network, that I can share files, I can send them things, I can do work and then do accounting work, any kind of work, and send it back to the restaurant. It is amazing. This is the first time that I've actually felt that I could live alone in a place, because I've lived in many other places, and it's just kind of you make do with what you can. You know, you get the bottom cabinet, or you just can't access some things, and that's just how it is. And you have to have roommates because there's things that you need them to help you to do.
Traditionally, townhomes are multi-level, but this is single-story ranch style to accommodate any person who wants to live here.
The goal that I had, as you know, with Maple Court was to have integration with barrier-free units for people with without disabilities in a rental. Here, what I wanted to accomplish was to create home ownership. There's a total of 8 units here, 4 and 4. 4 barrier-free, 4 adaptable. Somebody who goes into a townhome, they usually have a first, second, and third floor. Well, built it ranch style. So there's nothing above or nothing below, only the next unit next to them. Hey, Arnie. Hey, guys.
Hi, Bill.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Which one you got buttoned up open?
This last one, I haven't got anything buttoned up right now, but I got them all stripped out, so when I come in here
Let's go
Monday, I
take-
can wrap it up in about 4 hours.
Arnie Swanson has a hearing disability and has owned his own business, Swanson Sound and Security, for 4 years. 15% of the subcontractors working on Windsor Court are business owners with disabilities. Landscaping is critical to the aesthetics, and Bill invests to create the optimum environment.
I just want to make sure when we come out this far, we're still going to be at the 725.
You can build a quality development, low density, preserve the trees, because we have, as a developer, I have a responsibility to not only the residents here, but to the community, to the municipality, because I had strong support from the city, the county, and the funding.
Okay, so you have all these big ideas, and lots of us have big ideas, but we can't convince the money sources to get us going in them. So you put the ideas on paper, you had your mentor, then how did you put the money together?
Put the financing together between public and private financing, support from the city of Naperville, from DuPage County, and from the bank, and put the financing package together. This is the development. Here's the package. This is what I want to do on this site and accomplish this. And they loved the model because this was going to be a national model for the integration of barrier-free housing. I wanted this accomplished, and it just stayed focused and driven. You have to have drive, you have to have energy. It's not going to be handed on a silver platter.
Bill Malaris is an activist turned businessman. Since college, Bill has been preaching about the needs of people with disabilities. His sermon goes something like this: people with disabilities want to work. They don't want to be taken care of or felt sorry for. But people with disabilities do need the rest of us to be open to change and to find creative ways to bring them into the workplace. For example, you can hire a person who may be homebound. By providing telephone and computer equipment, that person with a disability could become your most productive employee. Some workers with special knowledge can work from any location. Bill's new sermon goes like this: if you have an idea for a business, a disability shouldn't hold you back. Find a need and fill it. Get a mentor. Access the free and low-cost services from the SBA. Start small and network with other small business owners. Bill's been preaching all his life, but the most impressive thing about him is he doesn't ask those of us listening to him to do anything he hasn't already succeeded at himself. How refreshing. The business community loves our show. One owner says you're motivating, informative, and inspiring. Another calls us insightful. One says it does my soul good. Another thinks we are the true reality show. And we're called the best business educational show on television. Want to learn more? Join the thousands of small business owners who are making a difference and add your voice to our story. Visit us online at smallbusinessschool.org. Bill has a strong message for his fellow developers and contractors.
They don't want to do it. Plain no. We're not. They're going to avoid at all costs. Well, let me explain something to the developers and builders that are out there in this country. Better wake up.
because you will be married to the Justice Department and we'll be paying out a lot of fines for the next 15 years and have to go back and retrofit and do what's right. That's my message to the people. So if other developers and other builders want to come here and see how it needs to be done, that it is done right, because I do presentations on fair housing. Sorry, I am a business person. And I have strong convictions in business policies and practices because you have to have a strong ethics. But bottom line, I'm still an advocate. And I won't change that. So my message to the developers around this country is come here. My door's open. I cannot build all the accessible housing in this entire country
But you're willing
in the
to
next
help.
100 years.
You're willing
When
to
you
help.
come here, you can take a look and you can see how it should be done. And start taking responsibility for your actions. Non-knowledge is not an excuse. Oh,
Bill
I
asks
didn't
us
know
all to change the way we think.
I went beyond minimum standards because of my own perspectives of some things that I wanted to do additionally. But through fair housing and the other things that are in place, they can put those things at their inception and put it into place and still make money. There's cost-efficient ways of doing things. Yes, there are additional things that I did beyond minimum, but there's things that they can do that meet those requirements and it can be accomplished.
It's a lot smarter to do it right the first time than to have to backpedal.
Definitely. From doing it right from the inception, it's better to do it that way than to sit there and try to go back and change it afterwards. And then it's like there's no excuse for it. There's absolutely no excuse for it. And I say that each of the communities are responsible also to make sure those developers are doing it the right way. You know, not just leaving it to the federal government to invoke and the Justice Department to enforce, that each of the communities have responsibility to make sure that those developers are implementing fair housing in their local communities to make sure that that is being done. Because if they just did a little bit, each one did what they're supposed to do, we would put such a dent in the housing market for accessibility, and it's not going to affect, you know, what they're trying to do to reach their traditional markets. I have people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and I have one person in their 80s. I've got singles, couples with children, some single parents with children. 7 out of the 48 units there in Naperville have children. You know, so the whole goal here is utopia. That, if you look at the ultimate goal, was integration. Integration, not only people with without disabilities, but all ages, everything. There are people with disabilities out there working. There are people without disabilities that are out there in their own businesses. For example, out of the 20 barrier-free units at Maple Court, 12 those individuals are out there working.
Sure.
Okay, so that's like 65% that are employed compared to the statistics of 80% unemployment and only 20%. So I feel by creating the barrier-free environment in housing, you open the doors for people to pursue the other goals, employment goals or their own business goals, and make that happen.
Independence is the key to it all. If you have the independence, you get the freedom, you get the mindset that things are possible.
We're out there. To sit there and say, oh, that's just one person. No, we're out there. People are doing it. And now is the opportunity. The doors need to be open more so we're not so disenfranchised. We're not a disenfranchised population. Stop. Look at us as the individual first. And if people start looking at us as the individual first and realize this is what it is, this is what it's about, believe me, get away from the disability and focus on the person. The ultimate goal is all of us living together in harmony and being able to be independent and function just like anybody else. At Maple Court, the national model was the rental model, so people could get on their own, just trying to get on their own and integrated, no matter economically, whatever the situation is, working, promoting that whole concept, getting people started.
You know what?
And then, oh, go ahead.
It's happening.
Yeah. Right. Then the next step, this was the other ultimate goal, creating integrated home ownership for people with disabilities.
You know
And
what? Your dream is coming true.
Yes. It's happening. It's a lot of hard work.
That's
And a lot of
okay.
hard work.
That's
And it
okay.
was worth every minute of it.
A couple of years ago, we studied Boardroom Inc. It is the publisher of Bottom Line Personal, the most successful subscription-based newsletter in the world. For nearly 30 years, founder Marty Edelston has built a business by using direct marketing. John Morgo, our marketing advisor, explained to me some of the reasons Boardroom is so successful.
Well, the first thing is many small businesses want to establish a relationship with just one mailing. You really need to be consistent. You need to mail repetitively. You need to be able to establish a relationship. Develop your communication plan. Stick with it for a while. Don't keep changing it, and don't just depend on one time and one mailing.
Now, I'm a customer of Bottom Line, and they're incredible with the mail. I mean, they have 1.3 million customers. I'm just one of them. And what surprised me the other day is from the publisher, I got this big letter. It's 6 pages long. It's a lot of copy. So I want to understand, why did they send me this big long letter when I'm a busy person?
Well, first of all, you're a customer. You do read their newsletter. So they do know that you're interested in reading and getting ideas.
Right.
This particular letter is designed to sell you a new concept. In order to sell you the new concept, what they need to do is to take the time to explain to you what the concept is, what the benefit is, why you ought to read it, why you ought to buy it. So it does take a little bit more time. But the fact is that since you do get your information through the printed word, they know that you will read this letter if it's relevant and if it's informative and explaining a new idea. They need to take a little bit more space.
Okay, what they are trying to sell me is another newsletter.
Right.
Another thing that's interesting is that he does use a PS.
Right.
And the way he words this, it's like he's writing it just to me.
Right.
Is
Well,
that a strategy?
That's a very unique strategy. I think there are two strategies here. One, PS is one of the most widely read sentences or paragraphs. My recommendation is always use the PS. What he's done with this particular PS was established a relationship, and then he reinforced it. He said, PS, you're important to me. Okay, that was more than an afterthought. That was a really strong statement.
Is it important for us, even though I know he's got 1.3 million customers like me, is it important for us as small business owners to write to our customers as if they're our friends?
They're your business friends. They're not your social friends. And I think to say, I value your relationship, I value your business, you're important to me, I don't think you can say that enough to your best customers. That's how you build loyalty.
So he's obviously doing some things right.
He's doing everything right. That's why you read it, and I'll bet you bought from it too.
Yeah, I did.
Small Business School with Hattie Bryant.
If you want to learn more about starting, running, and growing a business, come to our website, smallbusinessschool.org. There's streaming video and interactive study guides. The only way we can compete with big business is to be faster, smarter, and better. We are the engine of the American economy. We create the jobs. Small business is about big commitment. It's about sacrifice and struggle. But we do it because we say, if I don't do this, my life won't be complete.